Hello, you guys. My name is Star, and today we'll be discussing the torts of assault and battery, discussing how they are also related to business law. So, assault and battery are two separate torts. Assault, as I think many people think that it just involves a physical contact, wherein it also actually happens when there is no physical contact. So, assault implies that there must be an intent to cause a reasonable apprehension of immediate or offensive contact. If the victim received any harm, physical, mental, or emotional, they are entitled to damages. Take note on the fact that the action should be intentional. For battery, this is the instance where the perpetrator intentionally makes physical contact with the victim without their consent. It can be direct or indirect. On this case, the perpetrator doesn't necessarily intend to harm, so take note that intentional contact without consent is required for this tort. So the key word for both torts is intent. The defendant must have intended to make the act that led to any harm or fear, even if they didn't intend the specific injury. From the textbook, the law protects a person's bodily integrity and personal security. Defenses such as consent and self defense may apply, but courts take unwanted touching very seriously, even if it's minor, because it undermines an individual's right to autonomy. Okay, so moving on to the case. So we will be got the case notes here, case files. So for today, we will be analyzing the non-marine underwriters Lloyd's of London against Scalaria, decided in 2000, Supreme Court of Canada decision number 24. So this case involves an insurance company refusing to cover damages for a bus driver who was sued for sexual assault and battery. So Scalaria, the driver accused of non-consensual sexual activity, he argued that his insurance policy should cover the lawsuit because the acts were negligent, not intentional. And as you remember, the key word for both torts is intent. So the court's answer shaped how Canadian law distinguishes between negligence and intentional harm, that this tort should be not set aside lightly, clarifying to recognize the right of a person to control his or her body and who touches it, and to permit damages where this right is violated. So, looking at paragraphs 1 to 3 and 69 to 71, so the court frames the issue like this. So, paragraph 1, the issue in this appeal is whether an insurer is obliged to defend or indemnify its insured when the claim against the insured is for damages arising out of alleged sexual assaults. And for paragraph 69, in determining whether an insurer must defend a claim of sexual battery, the court must decide whether the claim arises out of an intentional act. So, moreover, the legal question, as noted by the Supreme Court of Canada, was whether the insurer be required to indemnify someone for damages caused intentionally, such as assault or battery. So, per Iabuchi, I am so sorry if I butchered that, it is explained that sexual battery is an intentional tort because it requires physical contact without consent. This implies that even if the defendant did not intend harm, the intentional act of non consensual contact makes it a battery. Moreover, moreover, the court rules that the insurance company is not required to pay damages for intentional torts. Public policy prevents people from being insured for deliberate wrongdoing. So, for this decision, it is clear that intentional physical contact without consent is always battery, regardless of whether the defendant thought the contact was harmless or even welcome. It was also emphasized that consent must be given freely and informed. So, how does this case relate to business and workplace law? So, intentional harm or unwanted contact, may it be physical or verbal threats, sorry, can expose individuals and their employers and to major legal and financial consequences. For leaders, this implies the importance of training employees on not only skills but also consent, boundaries, and respect. And furthermore, companies also need clear workplace harassment and violence policies to prevent and respond to incidents like these. And as the Supreme Court says, good intentions don't excuse intentional contact without consent. And in the business world, it means maintaining professionalism and respect for personal boundaries. Yeah. So, in conclusion, understanding these torts help future business owners create a secure and more ethical and legally complaint workplaces. And that's it for my presentation. I hope you like it, you guys. See you next time.